Okay, so today I am going to do my February roll of reads. So this is the TBR game that I have created that will help me to decide what I will be reading during each month. For all of the information about the gameplay, the rules, etc., then you should go over and watch my January roll of reads. I will link that in the description below and in the eye up above for you to go and check it out if you want to know all of that information about how it all works. Before I get into the actual game, I do just want to say that I am very low-key participating in the readathon, Woody's Roundup Readathon. This is a readathon that is being hosted by a number of different booktubers. I will link all of their announcement videos in the description below. The way that it's working is that you decide on a team that you want to join for the readathon, and then there are certain toys that represent a particular type of book, and then you choose books that go with those toys. Each team has different toys that they have to collect. They also have some toys that they are encouraged to steal from other teams, and they have a group book as well. So like I said, I am low-key going to go in this readathon. What I mean by that is I'm going to do my roll of reads game, and if any of the prompts that I get in that game match up with any of the toys for the team that I have chosen, then obviously I will get those toys. But I'm not going to super worry about how many of the toys I get, etc. Yeah, I just basically don't want to put myself forward to say I'll 100% go in this readathon and I'll 100% put all of this effort in and then not be able to commit. So I want to be very low-key about it because I need to put a lot more of my energy into my class. Anyway, so the team that I've chosen is Sunnyside Daycare, and that is going to be led by Helen over at Helen's Bookhaven. Like I said, her announcement video is in the description below, so you can go and check out that if you want to join her team, or just subscribe to her channel. She's a fantastic booktuber. You should totally do that. And I will talk more about that and how I'm going to see how they fit in once I've done my roll of reads. Also, before we get on to the actual game, I do have 3 buddy reads that I need to read in February. So again, like I did in January, I'm going to try and see if I can fit those into my TBR roll of reads game, but a couple of these I'm not sure that they'll fit properly, so I might not worry. But anyway, they are Gideon the Ninth by Tamzyn Muir. So as you can see, I am already partway through this book. This is actually on my January TBR. My friend Alison decided that she was quite interested in this book as well, so we are now doing this as a buddy read, which means that I am doing it a bit slower than I would have done. I'm not trying to get it read by the end of January, so it will go into February. I won't be counting that as a punishment, however, and I'll come back to punishments in a minute. But yes, so this will go over into February, so I'll be reading this book as well. When we are done with Gideon the Ninth, Alison and I are going to read A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos. This is the first book in the Mirror Visitor. I don't really know very much about this book. I know it's a young adult fantasy. I believe that we have these sort of floating islands, floating cities, and there's something going on in the floating cities, but that's pretty much all I know. I'm quite happy to keep it that way. I don't necessarily always need to know everything I can about books. I quite like to be surprised to begin with sometimes. So yeah, but Alice and I will be reading this once we've finished, like I said, Gideon the Ninth. It will probably continue on into March, which is why I don't think it will end up counting towards my TBR. The other book that I need to read in February is a buddy read that I am going to be doing with Connor over at Connor's Library Corner. I will link his channel in the description below. I should just say now, anyone else I talk about, I will link their channel in the description below. Connor and I do regular buddy reads, and in the month of February we'll be reading A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Mental blank for a second there. Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it's a fantasy and it's a portal fantasy. That's pretty much all I know about that one as well. I have heard that it's amazing. So many people on BookTube love it, and I'm super excited to read it. I've been meaning to read it for a while now, just haven't quite got there yet. So has Connor, so why not do a buddy read together? This is one that we will definitely be reading throughout the month of February, so it could potentially count towards my TBR, but we need to do all those rolls to see what happens. So if you recall from January, the first thing I need to do is roll a d12, and that will decide how many rolls I then do and how many books I therefore have to read throughout the month of February. Just to remind you that if I roll a 1, I have to roll again, so I have an extra roll, or potentially more depending on how many ones I roll, that I have to then read extra books. If I roll a 20, I can basically do what I want. That ends up becoming a free space. There will still be a prompt on the number 20, so I can do that prompt, or I can fit one of the buddy reads in, or whatever I want. So we hope for that one. Punishments. I did mention punishments before. If I don't finish books from the previous month, then I have to roll for those number of books that I don't finish from the previous month. At the moment, it is the 26th of January, so that gives me another 5 and a bit days. I am, like I said, partway through Gideon the Ninth, but this is going to continue into February. I won't count this as a punishment, especially considering that I'm partway through and that I have another 100 pages I need to read by this Sunday, so I don't think that should count as a punishment. I'm about halfway through this one. I should get this finished in the next day or so, and then I have 2 more books. Pride by Ibby's a Boy. This is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice. It's very thin. I think that I should get that read really quickly. And then I also have A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir, which is the second book in the Ember in the Ashes series. This is a thicker book, but it's a young adult, and I read through An Ember in the Ashes pretty quickly. So I do think that I will manage to get through all the books that I have to read by the end of January, because like I said, I've got 5.5 days. I think I can get those read. I've got 2 full books and I've got half another book. So I reckon I'll get that done. But if I don't, then I'm assuming that I'll get most of it read, which probably means I'll only have 1 book to make a punishment for February. So I'm going to roll a punishment roll and choose a book for that, but I'll only have to read that if I don't finish the books for January, if that makes sense. So all that being said, let's now roll the d12 to see how many books I need to read. Okay, so first thing we need to do is shuffle our cards. Alright, here we go. 5. Not too bad. I'll just show you. 5 rolls. That's a doable number of books, provided obviously I don't get a 1. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's go ahead and roll my d20 for my first roll. Let's roll our first book. Number 4. Okay, so number 4 is up here. And it is a favourite author's first book. First roll, we got favourite author's first book. That's pretty awesome. I'm excited about that. Just pop that there for now. I've had a bit of a think about this one, and I've actually decided to do a reread, and that is Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. The reason that I decided on this one is because I was thinking about all of my favourite authors. The 2 authors that I have probably read the most of their books are Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. I did look up both of their first books. For Neil Gaiman, it was a biography of Duran Duran, and I thought that would actually be really interesting, a biography written by Neil Gaiman, which, you know, Duran Duran isn't my favourite band of all time, but I did really enjoy it when I was a teenager. Enjoyed them, I should say, when I was a teenager. So I did think that would be interesting, but to be honest, it's only just happened, so I didn't go super hard looking for it. But basically, I didn't want to order on Amazon a book that I am only reading because it fits in with a particular role in a game. So I decided to go for Good Omens because it's the first book after that one that Neil Gaiman wrote. It's not Terry Pratchett's first book, but it's the first book they wrote together, or the only book they wrote together, so yeah. And it's one of my favourite books of all time. I love to read it every couple of years, so it's about time. So that's my first book. Roll number 2 now. Is number 7. So it's this one here. A male author again. I got that last month. Interesting. Roll number 2 and we got male author. I decided for male author I was finally going to read Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I've been saying for about 6 months now that I was going to start reading some more Brandon Sanderson. I picked this up at a local secondhand bookstore and I've been really looking forward to reading it, but it just hasn't quite happened yet. I did manage to get part 1, so this is actually 594 pages long, which is a lot more doable than the books when they're joined together in one big book. But of course I do also have the option of reading the second part if I get through this and I love it and I just want to do that. But I'm only going to say that this is part of the TBR for the sake of my sanity, because the second part is 530 pages long, so they're pretty thick by themselves, let alone if you join them together. But anyway, male author is going to be Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Roll number 3. Hello. Hello. Yes, it's not actually your dice. I know, it's very interesting. Hello. Hi, YouTube. Hi, YouTube. See if I can roll a dice without a cat looking at it. Nope. She's very attracted. Number 20. Alright, I'll show you so you believe me. A gift or from a subscription box. I can't believe I got a 20! That is so exciting! So as you guys saw, my prompt was a gift from a subscription box. But because it's a 20, I can essentially do whatever I like. I've decided to actually put in the buddy read with Connor. So for this one, I will be reading A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. I'm super excited to read that one, and yeah, that's the one that I'll be reading in place of a gift or subscription box. And we're up to roll number 4. And it is 11, which is this one over here. Rowan picks. Oh, this could be interesting. What will Rowan choose for me? Roll number 4, and it is Rowan's pick. Rowan has decided to choose for me The Lies of Locke Lamora, which he has wanted me to read basically since we started talking about books when we first met each other. Sorry, by Scott Lynch. I am putting it on screen because Rowan thinks he probably lent it to his dad, so when he gets it back, hopefully in February, I'll be able to read it. Otherwise, I'll probably just borrow it from the library or something. But anyway, yes, Rowan has chosen for me The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. I'm super excited to read this one. And roll number 5. Last roll, fingers crossed. A 7. It really is a 7, I promise. Another BookTubers TBR game. So last roll we got Other BookTubers TBR game. I got this prompt off of Cody's Book Corner, so yeah, it seems only fitting that I use her TBR game to choose my next book. The first spin that Cody did in her January TBR was to read a translated book. So that means that I have to read a translated book, and I have decided to go with Anxious People by Frederick Bachmann. This will be my first Frederick Bachmann. It is translated from Swedish, so it fits the prompt, and yeah, I don't really know very much about it, but I've heard that it's fantastic, so I'm really excited to give him a try. Like I said, I don't think that I will need a punishment roll. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to finish all the books in my January TBR, but I am going to do a punishment roll just in case, so let's do that now. Is a 2. Mentioned in the Gilmore Girls. Okay, so the punishment roll, I got a book mentioned in the Gilmore Girls. So yeah, I have to read a book mentioned in the Gilmore Girls. For those people that have watched the Gilmore Girls, there are a lot of books mentioned in the Gilmore Girls. So I'm just going to get my phone. Preferably I will find a book that I have not read yet, but I also want to find a book that I own, just to make life easier for me. So let's have a look. I'm seeing a lot of books I either don't own or have already read. Okay, so we've got Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. That's a possibility. I've just found The Time Traveller's Wife by Audrey Nifinger. Now, this is a book that I have actually read, but I haven't read it for quite a long time, and I do want to reread it at some point. Well, because basically I want to see whether I still enjoy it as much. So I think I'm going to go with The Time Traveller's Wife by Audrey Nifinger. That is my punishment, so I don't know whether I'll end up having to read that in February, but like I said, it's a book that I do actually want to reread, so who knows? Hopefully I will actually get to it. So now I'm going to get the computer out and see whether I can do any of the reads for the Woody's Roundup Readathon. Alright, so, Lotso, a book you had forgotten about. I had actually forgotten, well, I'd sort of forgotten, momentarily, that Rowan wanted me to read The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch, so that kind of works there. Ken, a book with a pretty cover. I do happen to think A Curse So Dark and Lonely is a very pretty cover. I actually only have it on e-reader, so that cover's not quite as pretty, but it still has a pretty cover, so I think that will work there, if I'm stretching it a little bit. Big Baby, a book you are intimidated by. Well, I mean, I'm pretty intimidated by the two Way of Kings because they're really, really long. But that probably only really works if I read both. Kinda, sort of counting. Stretch, a book set near or at the sea. I don't think any of these books work for that one. Read an audiobook or a book with a loud cover. A loud cover. I don't actually think I have anything that really fits for that, and none of these are audiobooks, so unfortunately I don't have that one. Barbie, a book you have unrealistic expectations for. Well, okay, so again, this is probably a little bit of a stretch, but The Time Traveller's Wife is a book that I did consider one of my favourite books of all time when I read it, and I still put it in the favourite standalones of all time video which I made a few months ago, linked in the description if you want to have a look at it, but I don't know whether it still would stand up, so that could work for that one. Those are all the toys that I need to collect as part of Team Sunnyside Daycare, but also I can steal some of Andy's toys, so let's just have a look at those. Woody, read a book with a historical setting. Don't think any of those have a historical setting. Buzz, read a sci-fi. Does it count if I'm still reading Getting in the Ninth? Dunno. If I'm cheating, then maybe. Slinky Dog, a book over 450 pages. Definitely The Way of Kings would work for that, but that was my intimidated book. Unless I said the intimidated book was Anxious People, just because I've heard so much about Frederick Bachmann, I feel a little bit nervous about whether I'll like it or not. In which case, the book over 450 pages is definitely going to be The Way of Kings Part 1, because even the Part 1 is over 450 pages long, so we can get around it that way. Rex, a book with a cinnamon roll main character. I don't really know what that means, to be honest with you, and also I don't really know whether the books will have those, so there we go. Mr. Potato Head, a book featuring disguises. Don't think so. Ham, a book that focuses on money or wealth. I don't have anything for that. And I think that's it for Andy's toys. But like I said, I'm low-key taking part, so I'm not going to be too stressed about that one. Anyway, guys, that is my roll of reads for February. So we have 5, possibly 6 books that I need to read in February, and of course I need to finish Gideon the Ninth, and then I will start at some point A Winter's Promise. I'm not too worried about either of those because they're buddy reads, so they're kind of not counting. And yeah, like I said, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.